This would have made the second Verde-themed show in a row that we did after She-Hulk. It was originally titled Emerald, but then they switched it over to Bad Sisters. I think Emerald had to do with the fact that they're Irish for the most part. Even the cast is Irish, and they filmed in Ireland. So yeah, but it had me thinking like, okay, we've reviewed a lot of shows where the working title ends up being completely different than what the show ends up being called, right? Mm-hmm. And so I have a game here. And it goes like this. You have 2 points if you can guess the real name from the working title with no help.
When did we start doing points?
And 1 point if you get it with a hint. And the hint is going to be the year that it came out. Now, mostly I could only find films that had interesting working titles. So that's what we're going to concentrate on here. Right. So this film was originally produced with the working title, I'm with Cancer.
I'm with Cancer? Bucket List?
Nope.
Okay, hint.
Okay, hint is it came out in 2011.
50-50.
Yes, yeah. You got it. Okay, so that's 1 point. By the way, if you get 4 points, you win. And there's 4 different ones. So right now you're on track. Okay, the next one is called Teenage Sex Comedy that can be made for under $10 million that your reader will love, but the executive will hate, and comfort food.
Can you say the name again?
Oh, are you just making me say the name again? Teenage sex comedy that can be made for under $10 million that your reader will love, but the executive will hate, and comfort food.
American Pie?
Damn it, 2 points. That was a good one. All right, you got it. And then this one is called, I did make them sort of easier than, there's some that are
comfort food.
Like one is cheese, and that's not for the cheese? Game. But yeah, that's actually Cloverfield, and there's no way you're getting that one.
What?
So yeah, I didn't include it. But the Lunch Bunch.
That's
the working title.
The Lunch Bunch? Okay, I'm going to need a hint for that.
You're already at 3 points, so you only need to get 1 more point.
Okay.
It came out in 1985.
I don't know.
It was The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, I was never
The Lunch Bunch was The Breakfast Club. So that John Mulaney thing that came around later on?
Obviously making fun of that, yeah.
It had something to do with that, yeah. Okay. And then this last one is going to be super easy. You're probably going to get it really quickly. 17 Bridges.
Wait, 17 Bridges?
17 Bridges.
I think I need a hint. 17 Bridges.
This came out in 2019. You're going to feel really dumb if you don't get it.
1917? I don't know.
21 Bridges.
21 Bridges?
Yeah, the Chadwick Boseman film.
I never knew. I don't know.
You've never heard of 21 Bridges?
No.
Okay. well, you lose. And because you lose, you have to hear this random fact, okay?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I'll tell you what Big Bang Theory's original title is. Do you want to guess?
I don't know. Bazinga?
Lenny, Penny, and Kenny.
Wait, what about the other two?
So Lenny is Leonard.
Yeah, right.
Penny is Penny. Yes. And originally Sheldon was supposed to be Kenny.
But it was just supposed to be Sheldon and not the other two, or Raj, or...
Well, they actually in the show were kind of side characters until later seasons. They only became the Friends setup, which Friends also had an interesting title. I think it was like 6 of Us or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard
of that
before,
one.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Anyways, so it wasn't the second Verde-themed show in a row, but it is the second show that we reviewed that was created by Sharon Horgan and her production company, Merman. Do you remember the first?
No.
Shining Vale. And do you know who Sharon Horgan is? She stars in this show.
Was she Grace? Or no. She must have been Eva, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Todd Margaret.
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't know her from that. Like, that should not be the main thing you know her from. It's almost embarrassing because she's created so many shows. She's done Polling, Catastrophe, which are both critically acclaimed British shows.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Numerous acting credits, and also she made a show called Divorce, but that's a U.S. show, so I couldn't include it in
I knew her from Game Night as well.
Yeah, does she play a similar character here?
No.
Okay. You don't think so?
Not at all.
Okay, so Eva Garvey, that's her name here. She's sort of the de facto leader of her sisters. She has 4 of them. There's Grace Garvey, who's the battered housewife. You have Becca, who's the younger laid-back sister. Bibi, who's sort of an oddball. She has an eye patch. And then Ursula, who I would consider maybe the secondary leader, but she is having sort of a midlife crisis because she's having an affair and she has a family. But yeah, what'd you think of? Did you recognize any of them besides Eva?
No, I didn't recognize a single person. But I really liked the beginning montage.
You liked the
beginning montage was one of my favorite parts of the whole episode.
What was the beginning montage?
When you get like a kind of quick scope into the lives of all of them. they show you their names, and then like you see Grace, she's crying
Oh,
over
they're
her
all
husband.
trying to get to the funeral. That's right.
Right, yeah, she's crying over her husband, John Paul, and then you also see Eva. She's, like, watering her flowers and, like, drinking right beforehand, and then you have BB, and that's when you get the reveal that she has one eye. Also, Becca almost kills Matt when she runs into the street, and he's on a motorcycle. I like the way that was done.
So you like their introductions,
yeah,
but you didn't recognize the characters. It's interesting because Eva, who, when their parents died, kind of took over the responsibilities. That's how Grace puts it, right? What does that remind you of? Like the oldest kid who takes up the responsibility of all their siblings.
Shameless.
Shameless. So guess where Grace Garvey's from? She's the original Fiona from the UK.
From
Shameless.
the UK?
Yes. And then Becca has been, for me, I was really familiar with her career because she's from The Nick. She's from Luminaries. She was the star in the Luminaries. Yeah. She was in Behind Her Eyes. I've seen her play a psychopath before. So even though she's playing sort of an airheaded younger sibling, like innocent kind of person here, like I know what she's capable of in acting, and maybe if they cast her in this, they're gonna have her take a turn. I don't know.
Oh, well, I assume so. I assume all of them are gonna take a turn.
But she's able to do that whole dead-eyed thing, that like demonic glare. She hasn't done it yet, but I'm just waiting for that. And then BB, though, is the more kind of darker of the personas.
Yeah.
It's played by Sarah Green. She's been in Broadway productions, Penny Dreadful, Ransom, a lot of talent here. But what did the eyeball remind you of?
The eyeball?
Yeah. It reminded me of Dark, because if you remember in Dark, the biggest question mark about the entire show was how did this one guy get this eye patch, and once they'd answered that solved the entire show. Like, I'm not going to ruin it right now, clearly, but so BB's character, what'd you think of her? Did you like her?
Yeah, she wasn't my favorite sister. I think my favorite sister was probably Eva out of all of them.
I like that BB was pushing the plot. Like, she was the one who took it from a joke of like, maybe let's kill him, to I absolutely want to kill this guy.
Yeah, I think that her backstory has like the most questions behind it, obviously, kind of the mystery.
Do you think that John Paul, JP, or the prick, that he's the one who caused her eye to turn out that way?
It could be that way because she is the one to bring it from like, oh yeah,
she's definitely the angriest at him to start with. Now by the end, all the sisters hate the dude. And then you have Ursula again. She's sort of a secondary voice of reason. She's played a nun in The Last Kingdom. Probably got the least amount of acting credits out of all the sisters, and
the least amount, I think, of screen time, if I had to guess.
Well, Band-Aid has less. Band-Aid is the daughter. It's actually Band-Aid, but I'm going to call her Band-Aid because it's so much easier to do that, and it's a funnier name to me. Band-Aid is Grace's daughter, JP's daughter, and she's definitely a victim in the show. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of my biggest problem. It's the fact that JP...
John Paul Williams. Who you also should recognize.
Wait, where's he from?
Do you remember that Dracula series in Netflix?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
That surprises me, but yeah, he played Dracula in that series, so maybe you wouldn't recognize him if you didn't know him from that, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just felt like his character, there was nothing redeeming about it at all.
It wasn't supposed to be.
But it was just such an insane level. There's not one person he's nice to in the whole entire show. Like, he's a complete dick, and I'm fine with wanting to, like, paint him that way, but it's
not about painting him that way. It's about convincing the audience that if these sisters didn't want to kill him, that you would.
So do you think it's from the perception of the sisters, then?
No, I think that literally he's just the worst human being. Yeah. He's a monster. Like, we can go into what he does later on, but I first want to talk about the brothers. This is actually a pretty big cast for an Apple series. Yeah. Usually you get like 4 people, but we got to go through all of them. So there's Matthew Claflin and Thomas Claflin, and they work together in this life insurance agency.
Yeah.
They're brothers, even though they have different moms, so they look way different. One's played by someone you should recognize from Peaky Blinders.
I didn't. Are you
Isaiah Jesus?
That's where he's from.
That is where he's from.
I did not recognize him before, but season 6 of Peaky Blinders. Yeah, definitely. And then Thomas.
He was also in The Wheel of Time. He played Aaron, but I'm not sure if he was in the episode you saw.
I think he might have actually been. But then there's Thomas, and then he's played by Domhnall Gleeson's brother.
So you did recognize him. And you also know Domhnall Gleeson, their father. You also know their father from Gangs of New York, 28 Days Later.
Oh, yeah. I know we've looked it up.
That's just a very famous family. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that what's his name? What's Thomas's actual actor's name?
Brian Gleason?
I think Brian Gleason might have also been a brother with Domhnall Gleeson in the movie Mother. Like, I think they actually played brothers there, but I'm not sure.
I know there's a 5-year age difference. Also, I like that Thomas's character, who is kind of this underhanded, he doesn't want to pay out this insurance policy because he suspects that something has gone wrong, but also selfishly, he knows that if he does pay it out, then he's going to go bankrupt. He's not going to be able to afford anything. So he is playing the sort of Columbo character, but he is also a jerk. But he's a good contrast jerk.
Yeah.
He makes the widow sign a paper without her knowing that she's actually signing something to dig up her dead husband.
But he's not as much a jerk as like John Paul. Like,
but that's what I'm saying, is that contrast makes it almost perfect, because it's like showing you that you can still be an asshole in the show and be likable and not be what JP is.
I'm going to make a prediction right now and say that Thomas does not make it past this first season. The second that I saw that he had a wife and his wife was pregnant and the wife was like, I can't have you dying. Yes, I am almost so sure that they're going to kill him off. I would like bet money on it. I think that he's maybe making it to like the penultimate episode. How many episodes is this season?
This one's going to have 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to be dead by then. I guess I feel it.
Wow. Okay, I have a few theories too, but we can get into those later. Just a couple more characters. I promise. We got Roger the neighbor, who was awesome to see, because I was like, well, there's the dead still guy, and he's at a funeral again. Mm-hmm. That's how I was introduced to him in that show, Michael Smiley. And then you had Gerald the boss. And both of those people, in my mind, actually, Roger's probably my favorite character. He only shows up for the smallest parts, and they're really goofy.
I did like seeing him, yeah.
But I think he's the murderer. I think it's going to end up that the sisters didn't do it, and that Roger just, because JP is such a dick to Roger. He's a dick to everybody, but like Roger just keeps on trying to get invited in to just kind of hang out with people, and he just keeps on shoving the door on him.
To me, it's not really about the motivation, but just who has the screen time, because there's always, when you're focusing on the murderer, it's like the person who like was in the background the whole time, and yeah, Roger could definitely be that person.
Yeah.
He's fitting the mold.
All right, so if you were to compare this show, before we jump into the plot, what would you compare it to?
Okay, yeah, so really I have these comparisons just based off of the tone. Barry, Made for Love, The Woman Across the Street, In the Window, Why Women Kill, Afterlife, Dead to Me, and Big Little Lies. In fact, I feel like John Paul was exactly like Perry in Big Little Lies, played by Alexander Skarsgård.
Exactly.
They're almost the same character. The only reason why Perry was maybe a little bit better is that he's nicer to his kids.
I was going to say Skarsgård, it didn't seem like he was as dislikable, but definitely Big Little Lies is my top comparison, even though I've never even seen the show. Secondly, I also had Dead to Me on here. A couple other ones that you didn't mention, Death at a Funeral. I feel like the humor there, this is very British humor, but they definitely have, like, the guy had a boner right before.
Post-mortem, yeah.
Yeah, and then, which you'd think that, like, the person in charge of setting up the body and stuff would have been able to, the mortician or whatever. And then Murder on the Orient Express. I think this could
What? Oh, you think it could be, like, a multiple thing?
Well, it does already seem like the sisters are teaming up to kill him, and then they're trying to, like, cover it up.
Yeah.
So, but it could be more people who are involved. And then Pretty Little Liars, I remember one of the spin-offs to the show had the plot where a bunch of kids had been joking about killing someone, and then they ended up dead the next episode, and then everybody's pointing fingers at who might have done it. That felt very much like this, but also it's just a classic whodunit plot, right? All right, so we've talked about the cast, we talked about our comparisons, we've done a little game. We should probably jump into the plot, even though we've already given a little bit away.
So one of the first things we see is that John Paul is dead. He's in a coffin. And Grace is like, it's weird because when you watch the rest of the show, you're not really sure if she's crying over the fact that John Paul himself is dead or how he died, because that's really the mystery throughout the whole entire show. We see that John Paul is a dick in the 6 months flashback.
He puts on a clinic. He's like arrogant, rude, he's petulant. He's, by the end, it's like narcissistic psychopathy to me. And then I even have like, what makes him the worst father in the world? This is during his daughter's birthday, right? Mm-hmm. So he does 4 things here. He steals her birthday cash from her letters.
Yeah.
Does that make him the worst dad in the world? Or giving her a pro-life pin as his gift? Humiliating her by talking about how small he thinks her boobs are within earshot of her and everyone at the party. Yeah. Or 4, telling her that dancing to pop music makes her look like she's asking for
that
it.
last one, I was like, that might be the worst.
That's the worst one?
That's the worst, yeah.
Man, they're all like, equally. This guy is great.
Not to mention the fact that he continually makes fun of Eva because she's unable to get pregnant, as we learn throughout the 2 episodes.
And he also almost steals her job.
Yeah.
And he's a chatterbox, and he's also very, very controlling.
Oh, absolutely controlling. That's the biggest thing. Like when they're at the Christmas Eve party, he's the first to be like, Grace, we're leaving right now. Like, we're not staying at all. And all the sisters are like, Grace, you need to stand up for yourself. If you want to stay, you should say that you want to stay. And then she's like, no, it's fine. I know you think that he's a dick, but he's actually a really good person. And then I actually kind of like the twist that they kind of pulled in the first episode, where you see that he's acting really nice to Grace when he's giving her the champagne, and then you realize that the reason he's giving her the champagne is to manipulate the situation so she can't drive to the beach.
That's where I was like, this isn't just manipulation, this is psychopathy. Yeah. Because like there's no way in which this guy is not a sleazeball, but like to the worst degree.
Right, yeah, and so all the sisters are like, she's really not going to be coming to the beach, and that's the first scene where they joke about being like, oh, we should kill him. But like we said, BB decides to actually take that seriously.
So the way they're portrayed in the show is that at the first scene, we see that he's already dead.
Yes.
And then we keep on getting these backflashes. And one of my pros for the show is how they show us that they're doing backflashes, because they'll stay on a character for a second, and then you'll know that they're thinking about it, the past, and then they'll kind of do this film backwards horizontal like flip. And I really liked how they showed it, because every time it was very clear when they were going back to and what they were describing to you. And I think that the segues were just one of the perks.
Yeah, and I felt like the story that they were showing in both timelines were very seamless. Like, I never got too lost in anything.
Yeah, and even though it's a slow burn, like, it also felt like it was moving, and I was engaged the whole time. And the humor also helps a lot.
Yeah, and by the end of the second episode, even, they blow up the place that John Paul was supposed to be at.
That's a jump. So, like, you're saying that BB and Eva have teamed up at this point. BB's convinced Eva to help her kill JP.
I did find it funny, because at first when BB is talking to Eva is like, no, but it did take John Paul literally making fun of her one more time about not being able to become pregnant. I think it was
the stuff about the daughter, actually.
And the bra, yeah, because Eva bought her a bra, and he didn't like that.
No, but, like, Eva's one, like, holdup was that she did not want to take away the father to Band-Aid, right? Like, but then when she saw how bad a dad he was continually, with all the listed reasons that we just gave, that is what convinced her, like, she's better off without him. Like, I can do a better job, and so can us, like, as a sister, because this is a very tight-knit sister group.
Well, yeah, and we see even by the end of the first episode, they're like, we all have each other's backs, and Grace is going to stay out of it.
And I believe it, too, because they all seem to get along together, and it's just good acting. But, Eva and BB alone go to this cabin where they know that JP's going to be hanging out, because he's doing like a 15K in the mountains or something, where he's just walking 15, and then he they booby trap it almost. They're going to turn on the gas and then blow it up and then get the insurance payout, and no one will be the wiser. However, because they brought their cell phones with them, my thinking is, like, if he actually dies this way, they'll be able to tell really quickly in a police investigation who was at that cabin at that time.
Yeah, I had a lot of doubts on that, because I was like, also the other sisters, we know that at some point they're going to have to all plan to and be in on the action of actually killing John Paul.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't make as much sense. Also, his body wasn't burnt.
Yeah.
So, like, it was pretty given away at the first episode when you were able to see his face. Like, he died in a very miserable fashion. That's what they've said several times. But, like, you could tell that he didn't die in a fire.
Yeah, no, you could see his face. But who did they kill? Because there was someone inside the cabin, right?
No, there was no one in the cabin.
There was no one in the cabin?
He was just screaming like a little baby girl because he was outside of the cabin.
Yeah, but didn't they hear the footsteps at the top of the stairs?
Yeah, but he had left because he was calling. There was enough time in between. So, yeah, he leaves the cabin just to make this phone call because he's not able to get reception, I assume, anywhere else. But who he decides to call is not his wife or anyone else.
It's Eva if she was there. Yeah.
So why? She didn't know why, but that's obviously a question that's going to get solved later on. And then, the brothers storyline, which takes place all in the present, not the 6 month past, is all about Tom kind of convincing Matt that they need to follow up on this lead because he is 100% sure that something crazy is going down and that these sisters have like planned to murder JP in some way.
In the world that they have, I felt like it was pretty realistic. The only problem I had was the fact that like Becca almost running into Matt and then like running into him again at the bar.
You didn't like the meet cutes?
I was just like, well, the first time it was fine, but the fact that Matt would then be kind of like investigating the death of her brother-in-law.
I think what we're supposed to get is that it's a really small town.
Yeah.
And so obviously there's only a few set places. Like she said, the Chinese place that she's from been banned from. It seems like it's the only Chinese place in town.
Yeah.
So that makes me believe like it's just a really small community. Also, I think with the Chinese place, if you remember Eva when she's giving dodgy questions to Tom, I really like that scene because they both were kind of trying to scope each other out and like outmaneuver each other by like the questions and the answers. And so she was like, something weird did happen the night that JP died. We got this order delivery. It was raining and we had ordered Chinese or Mexican and the other one showed up, but a ton of it. And so maybe that plays a role in that Becca had dated someone who was in the Chinese.
Because doesn't she say she like dated the owner? She broke up with the owner.
Yeah, that's why she was banned from the restaurant. So I'm wondering if that connection is supposed to play. At this point,
I assume everything like that, like planting the seeds, I assume everything is going to come back into play, especially by the finale.
Usually by the time that we do these podcasts, I'm able to go on to like Reddit and different forums and see what the theories are. Mm-hmm. But the strange thing is there really aren't a lot of user reviews on this. There's not a lot of participation from like just regular audience members. Now, critics are all across the board that like almost everywhere has rated this show, but it just doesn't seem like it's gotten enough traction from it seems like the type of show that over the course of the season it might accrue a larger audience,
but as of now it doesn't
or
have that big
that
one.
It might take after this season before people start to discover it. But because it's on Apple and it kind of got released in the middle of like Game of Thrones and She-Hulk and all these other big shows, it might just fall under the radar, which is pretty sad to me because I very much enjoy it. I'm very into the mystery. What else haven't we talked about?
All the characters, and there are a lot so far. I like how they're all different and unique, except for John Paul. I did feel like John Paul was a little bit stereotypical in just how much of a dick he was. But
at this point, isn't it entertaining to you? Like what is he going to do next? When they go to the Lizzo concert, when his wife and his daughter go to the Lizzo concert without his permission, and then they get the call, I knew he was going to flip out when he heard Lizzo in the background. and so I couldn't wait to see that because it was so enjoyably like distasteful.
It's nothing wrong with the acting. It's just more the fact that like John Paul, I guess feel like I've seen too many characters. I feel like that on TV.
I disagree. Usually they try to give some finesse to a character, but the funny thing is he's not some like deadbeat dad who's drinking all the time. Like he's the opposite. He doesn't drink at all. He's a teetotaler, which is a word I haven't heard since RimWorld, but I love that they used it here. And so there was alcohol in his body when they found him dead, 1.6%. So that is suspicious. And we do know that someone murdered him. There's very little chance that he just died in his own way. I also like the little things that they did for the jokes. Like, for instance, when we haven't talked about Matt's character too much, but he definitely is going to get together with Becca, right? Yeah. And then also he seems like the most sane out of all the characters so far. I did like when he got a call from Thomas. The picture of his brother on his phone was Thomas from like the most double-chinned angle looking downward. I know that's okay. I like the humor. I also liked how they shot that scene in the ocean. Usually you don't see people talking in the water.
Yeah.
And I mean, camera work is cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like the cinematography, I thought worked really well. And you can tell there was obvious effort put into the show. Yeah.
It is inspired by a 2012 Flemish series called Clan or In the Outlaws, which also ran for 10 episodes. But the executive producer, or one of the producers on the show, was actually from that one.
Oh, wait, I think I've heard of The Outlaws.
You've heard of The Outlaws?
It was like a foreign show, you said, right?
Yeah, Flemish shows.
Yeah. It was on the IMDb Top 250.
Oh, okay. So you are aware of the show. Yeah, so that's just a recreation of that. No wonder it's gotten so successful, like, material to work with. My theories are this. I also think that Grace must be hiding something because right now she is just playing the widow who is really sad and she was. I think that she did something. Like I think she's the one playing it the most cleanly, And that's suspicious to me.
So you think that she did the darkest thing?
Maybe. I think that might be revealed over time. Like, she did say that she accidentally lied to the insurance agency that she was with her sisters, but maybe that was on purpose. Maybe she's just really good at manipulating.
Actually, you saying that, because of the fact that the sisters being like, we need to like, keep Grace out of it no matter what, she might be one to like turn on her sisters. Like,
I don't think she's going to turn on her sister, but I think she's too innocent.
Yeah.
I think she's too innocent right now, that there's something that we're missing. Even though it's an hour long as a comedy, it didn't feel like it was taking too much time.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they released 2 episodes. It felt like I actually was able to like learn more, if that makes sense.
More than sometimes they release 3. So do you feel like that would have been better? Or?
No, I like that. I like where they. I think what I'm trying to say is I like where they cut it off. Yeah,
great. And so what would you give it overall?
Overall, I'd say that was a pretty good series. Like I said, my only drawbacks are the fact that John Paul is such a dick, and it did seem like some things were pretty convenient. Also, Big Little Lies, I feel like they took a lot from that. But, like I said, more good than bad. I give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. I also think Dead to Me, it's pretty close to that Netflix show.
Yeah.
Just not as, I don't think Dead to Me is as good, even though it has gotten critical acclaim as well. I think it's well balanced, strong casted, beautifully shot, dark comedy, murderous mystery. And so 8 out of 10 for me.
8 out of 10.
So you said 7 out of 10?
7.5. Yep.
7.5. So right in between that range. It actually has a 7.5 to 7.9 on IMDb. Right now it's fluctuating between those two. New York Times said it had smart construction, tart dialogue. Guardian saved 4 out of 5. IGN called it gripping. Decider, Variety, Vanity Fair, all positive. I haven't found a negative review for the show. Critics love it. And like I said, the audience just don't seem to have seen it. Like, the amount of reviews on IMDb, it's like only 163.
Yeah,
that is really, really low.
Especially for an Apple TV series.
So, because I think there was like no publicity behind it. It's surprising though, because it feels like this happens a lot to Sharon Horgan. Like, her shows are always really, really well liked in the far future. Like, they're like, oh my God, do you realize how good Catastrophe is now, years later? So hopefully this doesn't become that. And I don't know if they're planning on doing more than 1 season. But
I hope that it is more than 1 season. Yeah. But then again, it would be like, where would the story go? Because I assume by the end of the season, we're going to learn who killed JP, and all the questions are going to be answered. So
yeah, I can't imagine naming your kid something so close to Band-Aid. That really was. I had to play it back at first to make sure I got the name right, and then I had to look it up on IMDb to make sure it was spelled that way, and Band-Aid. But like, wow. All right. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's about it.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.